All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Off Limits Show. It's Saturday, July the 4th. Happy Independence Day. Yay, America, the great, the beautiful. Yay. Welcome to the show. So we are celebrating July the 4th. It is our wonderful Independence Day. And I wanted to, actually I had a little political discussion tonight, and I wanted to play that for you, with Amy Peikoff. She has she's kind of a, she is a libertarian. She has a show, and I wanted to call into her show. We talked about, some gay issues she had. She actually entitled her show something about to the effect of, is the gay agenda over, or is the gay agenda going to morph into something else? Is it really about equality, or is it about having more power? Something kind of pissed me off a little bit. So I thought I would call in, and I did, and we talked about it. So we had a pretty good discussion about this, and also about politics in general, political philosophy. So I thought I would, we'd go over that tonight on the show, and also, to talk about a few things like we always do on the show. But, I wanted to, also, discuss the gay marriage aftermath, a little bit about that, but it's going to be a short show. Just wanted to go over this briefly, and I'm back with a full show on Tuesday, actually, with a couple of co-hosts. We're going to talk about a few things. I'm trying to, kind of morph into, back into what the show once was in terms of having guest hosts and guests talking with me, because it's always much more fun when I can talk to someone than sit here rambling on by myself. Of course, you know, you love it, but anyway, so I'm gonna bring them on for the gay mass shows only, and then the off limits shows I'll still do myself. But I wanted to change it up just a little bit. But in the interim, by the way, if you've never heard my show before, you can always go to offlimitsshow.com. You can hear the show live there when the show is on the air, by going to offlimitsshow.com, clicking on listen live when the show is broadcasting. I always put a tweet out and Facebook and whatever, you know, I can, on groups and things on Facebook as well about the show when it's starting. So you'll always know. If you're on Twitter, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Off Limits Show. Also on Facebook, Off Limits Radio, Off Limits Show. I think both of those. And then, also you can listen to the show on podcast, at iTunes, and I'm on iHeartRadio as well, if you want to hear the edited version, because they're very strict about what can and cannot be put on the air. But if you want to hear the edited version of the show, or if you're part of or a member already of iHeartRadio or iHeart.com, you can go there and listen to the show. Be sure to go to Spreaker.com also to listen to the show there in its full entirety. So anyway, let me go ahead and let's play my discussion with her. It's about 30 minutes long, and then we'll discuss it. I'll be right back. Well, maybe not. Hold on a second. I'm not sure why. Oh, I know what I did. Sorry. Volume would be good. Okay, here we go. Be right back after this. I thought I would call in.
Sure. So in terms of my perspective, I am for same-sex marriage, but I'm against the government prohibiting private discrimination against same-sex couples. So it's sort of what you might call the libertarian position. So I think, for example, the baker should be able to say, no, I'd rather not bake the cake.
Okay. Yeah. And I kind of agree with you to some extent. Let me say this. I think that gay people should be able to have all the same rights as everyone else. And I'm gay, so we should have the same rights as everyone else, in my opinion. But I do think that when it comes to dictating whether a baker, for example, makes a cake, or a stationary person wants to make wedding invitations or not for a gay couple or not, that's up to them. I don't really care if they want to or not. I wouldn't want to patronize a place that didn't want me as a client anyway. So
yeah, you know, there's always been that joke, you know, it's like, okay, here's the cake that you forced me to bake. I hope you enjoy it. It would be a terrible cake, right? Now, just to be clear, I would never myself discriminate against same-sex couples if I was offering one of these services. And I think it would be bad to do so. And I'm all for, calling out as bad people who would discriminate against same-sex couples and stuff. But I just don't think the government should force, and I certainly don't think somebody who doesn't bake a cake should get a $130,000 fine for not doing it.
I agree with you. I mean, I do. I think it was ridiculous that they were forced to. It's just like, for me, for example, if I had a bakery, for example, and there were some right-wing Republican who wanted me to put the Confederate flag on a cake, and hey, I hate gays, I hate fags, whatever, I wouldn't want to do it, and then I would be subjected to the same kind of punishment. I don't think so. So right. I don't think it's right either way. I agree with you on that fact. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so actually we agree more than you initially thought when you first got into our chat room over here.
On that, I do. But you did say something about the LGBT movement, whether it's a movement or isn't a movement or something. Can you reiterate what you were saying?
Yeah, so the idea is, do all the people in those four categories really have that much in common? And actually, to take it even a step further, the next article that I have basically talks about how marriage isn't really the whole thing, that what it's about. And it goes on to basically unify all LGBT people within a broader progressive political movement, and starts urging that, we all unite with immigrants and these other groups for so-called social justice, and socialized everything, including preschool all the way up through college, and socialized medicine and everything else. And that really it's just one step towards the broader social justice agenda. And I don't know that you would want to lump everybody who has, certain sexual orientation into that sort of political group.
I don't know what specific article you're referring to, because I haven't read it. But I'll tell you real quick. It's and actually all the articles that we talk about I have over at the blog at don'tletitgo.com, so you can check out everything that I got over there. And this article is from thenation.com, and the headline is "What's next for the LGBT movement?" Mm-hmm. And I think that what my sentiment from what you're telling me anyway, what I think the meaning of that is different than what I hear you saying. What I hear you saying is it's as if that gay community has all along had some agenda, that we had a bigger, broader agenda all along, and this is just part of it, and we still have these other things we want to lop ourselves onto. And in some degree that's true, but I think what it's really saying, or what I feel anyway to be the truth, is that the gay community, one of the biggest milestones of our fight for equality has been gay marriage, obviously. Since we've overcome that obstacle, we've achieved it now. What's next for us? And I don't think it means that we're not trying to still have the same ideology in terms of what we want to accomplish. But I mean, we have other things, people who've helped us in our journey for equality in this realm, and we want to help them as well, whether it's with people who are, feminists, or with immigrants, or whatever it might be. So we're saying we want to help. I think what it's saying, and this is what I feel, is that we want to help other causes achieve success as well. It's not necessarily becoming the same thing and melding into one. It's just that we want to use our clout and our power to also help other people who've helped us along the way. That's what I see.
Well, so for instance, if you were talking about helping feminists, what would you try to help them do?
Well, and feminism is, a broad term, I think, but everyone thinks of it differently. But I think that feminism basically just means equality for women on the same level as men in every respect. So, for example, having the same pay, 70 cents on the dollar, whatever it is.
So then basically you would say, go ahead and force an employer to pay a woman the same if you happen to be a government bureaucrat who doesn't see why the woman doesn't have the same qualifications as a man in a particular situation. Is that the idea?
Yeah. A woman should be paid the same as a man for the same job with the same qualifications. So
but that's the thing. I mean, there's no two people who are ever exactly the same. So then who makes that judgment?
The person that makes the judgment is the person who's hiring them, the HR department. They say, well, we have a woman. Let's say we have Jane and we have John next to each other.
Right.
John and Jane both went to similar Ivy League schools. John and Jane both have similar backgrounds in terms of what they've accomplished in terms of their career. they have the same number of years, et cetera. They know the same software, whatever they do. And so you compare them in that way. And I'm not saying, obviously, no one is exact. You're absolutely right. But you have a disparity in pay for a woman and a man for the same job with the same qualifications. How could that ever be equitable? Or, it's not right.
So for example, suppose your whatever government agency would be in charge of enforcing this, okay? So you find a company and there seems to be a man and a woman that are the same as, you were describing in all those various categories, and the woman is making $5,000 a year less than the man or something. So what do you do to the company?
Well, you either tell them they have to pay her the same, and they have to make up the difference, I think, in terms of what she hasn't been paid over the time period she's been there, or from that point on, they have to continue to pay her whatever she's supposed to be paid. I mean, I think it's just to make up the back pay.
And if they refuse to do it, you what? Confiscate assets?
No, penalize them probably with fines or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so confiscate assets, basically.
I'm obviously not the government, so I don't know what they would do.
Well, right, but I mean, what I'm getting to basically is that you're going to be forcing employers to act a certain way other than they would want to on the free market. I don't know.
It's not about the free market. It's about discrimination. It's about inequality. If you have a woman and a man doing the same job for different pay, how is that fair? Because maybe you think.
Well, I mean, probably it's. I mean, if the hypothetical actually does exist, and again, who equal, not equal, and yes, there are sexists out there, but if there's some guy who's a sexist and he's determined to pay qualified women less than the men, wouldn't you rather just let the free market take care of that and let the woman go find a job where she's valued more equally, as opposed to bringing government force into the situation?
No, because the free market, you said you were a libertarian, right?
Well, I mean, libertarian is probably what I would relate to you as, but actually I'm an objectivist. Which is very similar in terms of politics, right?
Well, I just often hear that from libertarians about the free market, et cetera, letting it ride free, whatever. And that's all well and good as long as you're being treated equally and things are fine. But that's the problem with the free market, is that the free market has to be regulated to some degree. I'm sorry, it's not really free. It never has been, it never will be, in my opinion. And to just let things be free no matter whatever happens.
Well, but so what I mean by free is that nobody is forced to act against their best judgment, right? Now, of course, if everyone's going to be free to act according to their best judgment, that means that some people's best judgment is going to be irrational and racist and horrible and disgusting. But I would just rather let those people fail and be ostracized and boycotted and still leave everybody else free to act according to their best judgment that we can...
That's not realistic. That's not what happens in the free market. The reality is the corporate greedmongers are the ones who are in control. They're the ones who stay in control, and they're the ones who do what they want to do regardless of what the law is, generally speaking. And this is the only way to keep things equal. And by the way, whoever said in the chat room, John Roberts, we just moved from equality to fairness. Well, to me, they're the same thing. So,
well, see, and that's really what is being said in some of these articles that I've got linked to, is that you move from equality to so-called fairness. And fairness would be the government coming in and dictating a so-called fair distribution of assets. And basically then what you're doing is you are forcing people to act against their best judgment. I mean, let me ask you, would you want the government to come in with every paycheck that you have and tell you how you should spend it?
I'm self-employed, so it's not a problem for me.
Well, here's another thing, right? You talk about, the corporate greedmongers and stuff. So many people in this economy today, especially with the internet out there, are able to be self-employed people. The whole old model that everybody has to go work for a big, evil corporation. I mean, first of all, I don't think big corporations are evil necessarily. I've heard some awesome stories about some really cool corporations to work for. I think some are good and some are bad, just like people. Some are good or some are bad. But I think